Okay, I'm not going to do any huge jump cuts today because I know today's video is going to be really long, and I know that I don't have the patience to edit a really long video, so I'm going to do as little editing as humanly possible. So here we go. This one is going to come with pretty much nothing but spoilers. One is minor spoiler, but the rest are all relatively going to be major spoilers. Alright, so the first scene I'm going to talk about is actually probably my favorite scene in all of anime. It is from Gundam Wing Endless Waltz, so if you haven't seen Gundam Wing Endless Waltz, you better mute before I spoil it for you. I have got to say my favorite moment in all of Gundam Wing Endless Waltz, all of anime, is the Hiro Wu-Fei fight. Mostly because of what is said between the two of them. They both are basically fighting for the same thing and fighting for the same reasons, and they are fighting each other, and it's crazy. One of the very first things Wu-Fei says to him is, you know, I need to determine for myself whether or not peace, the expense of lives, can really be defined as peace, and I'll become evil itself to find out. Which tells you that you know, he's fighting for the bad guys in this because he finds that if he does that, he'll find his answer. And essentially he does. Not in Marimeya, not in fighting for the bad guys, but in fighting Hiro, and later on with the former soldiers that Dorothy brings into the fight. And it's so good. And then of course ending it with, you know, Hiro saying, Wu-Fei, tell me, how many more people must we kill? How many more times must I kill that girl and her dog? Zero will not tell me anything. This tells you a lot of things. This tells you, one, that girl that he killed accidentally has been haunting him this entire time. And the whole series, you're watching Hiro, and he's seeming to be completely just void of feelings about killing people and about fighting, but in all reality, he's being haunted by this little girl every time he kills somebody. That's the first thing it tells you. Number two, Zero will not tell him anything. This means that Hiro doesn't really have much of a future. Now, while Hiro doesn't die, at the same time, I think at this point in his future, Hiro didn't have a future. And I think Zero gave him a future by waking him up later on in the movie, in the OVA. The next one I'm going to talk about is going to be also a spoiler for Gundam Wing. May as well stick with the Gundam Wing theme here for a minute. And if you haven't seen season 2 of Gundam Wing, because this one's from season 2, like the second to last volume, I think, specifically. So if you haven't seen that, mute. This one is, again, just really awesome. It's when Catra pilots the Zero system for the second time, and this time he pilots it in Sandrock. The start of it was really cool, where they're going into battle, and Hiro says, I asked Howard to install the Zero system into this Gundam. And, you know, Catra is just pleading with him, no, don't make me pilot the Zero system. I can't do it. And he's having flashbacks of the Zero episodes, and he just can't do it. And Hiro says, this is the way you're going to repay the people from the colonies. You know, this is the way you're going to do it. And because, you know, we need the Zero system. And Catra knows that Hiro's right, and so he goes into battle. And when he starts the Zero system, I swear, I stop breathing. I'm probably, you know, 2 seconds away from passing out throughout this episode of, you know, not having enough oxygen to my brain, because I quite literally can't breathe. I know what's going to happen, but for some reason I am always on edge in that scene. I just keep thinking about he's going to go crazy, and it's going to end differently, but I know it never will, but still at the same time, that scene was just so well done. And then going further into that, where Dorothy is piloting the Zero system for the mobile dolls, and she realizes somebody is piloting the Zero system as well. She realizes that it's Catra, and Catra realizes that it's her. And I just think that that's such a cool moment, because I've always been a really big fan of the Dorothy-Catra pairing, and I know that that's weird because they kind of hate each other, but at the same time, it's almost like that sexual tension kind of hating each other from my point of view. And that's why I really love that scene. It's just so good. Blah! So next I'm going to talk about is a 00 spoiler for season 2. So if you haven't seen season 2 of Gundam 00, then mute, unless you don't care about being spoiled. When Sansa becomes the true innovator for Gundam 00, I love that scene so much. It's so good. The way it's done is, can't put any words on it. I'm so speechless with all these scenes, so please forgive me for being so speechless. With this scene, I've got to say, the moment where he's in his Gundam and he's hearing all the voices. He hears Saji, he calls out for Saji and Louise, and he hears, Lasse, and he hears Felt, and he hears Milena, and he's hearing, Miss Sumeragi, and within that, there's Alleluia and Hallelujah, and Hallelujah just tells Alleluia, keep your eyes on Marie. That's all that you need to do is just keep your eyes on Marie. And Setsuna's realizing that if he doesn't do something soon, then everyone's gonna die. And then he just realizes that these are all these people that he cares about. He loves all of these people, and he can't let that happen, so he just gives in to this innovator inside of him, and he becomes the true innovator, and he's just so and he screams he's not gonna let it happen, and the radiance of his being just engulfs this entire battle and just stops everything. It's just so good, so good. The next one I'm gonna talk about is another one for 00. So if you haven't seen season 1 of 00, mute. This one is Lock-Han's death. Lock-Han's death is probably one of the only deaths, I think there's 3 deaths, that I cannot watch without crying. I cry every time because it's just so beautifully done. From the moments of silence that they make you go through, and just connecting with Lock-On in that final moment, and having Setsuna trying to get to Lock-On, but he just can't get to him in time. And, just everything about it. But there's one line that I missed the first few times I watched it. I missed it because I the first time I was just so involved in his death, and then the second few times it was, oh, this is so stupid because of what happens in season 2. And those of you who've seen season 2 know what I'm talking about, what I didn't really like about season 2, but I do like it because I missed this line, and this line changed everything for me. And all it is was simply, the future Lyle will know. Because the future Lyle will know is Lock-On's future. Next one is Trigun spoilers. If you haven't seen Trigun, then mute. Wolfwood's death scene, again, was just so poignant. And I think mostly because now I'm a Christian, so I'm sorry for any offense that might be taken to my fellow Christians out there. But his death scene was almost personified as Christian life in general. It's hard to explain, but let me try. When he first walks into the church, he says, forgive me for barging in like this. Despite the profession that I've chosen, I've never actually made a confession before. Which is almost so true of people, of so many Christians that I've come across in my life, where they say they are such godly people. They say they are so high and mighty, but in all reality, they're not. Their lifestyle says completely the opposite. And to me, I think Wolfwood in general personifies that that oxymoron in all of religion, I suppose, but more specifically, I guess, because he's a priest, Christianity, and I see that so much, and I think that is why I love that scene so much, is because it actually pushed the boundary, and it decided to not just be a cool death scene, but it also decided to be kind of a world-changing scene too. The next scene I'm going to talk about is a minor spoiler for Inuyasha, so if you haven't seen the first series of Inuyasha, Final Act doesn't matter, if you haven't seen the first series of Inuyasha and you don't want to be spoiled at all, then we go ahead and mute, but if not, then go ahead and keep listening. When Moroku proposes to Sango, that is one of my favorite moments in all of anime, mostly because of the fact that I know this is really awkward, and I don't like admitting this because it's weird, but I kind of fell in love with Moroku with Sango. Like, as Sango fell in love with Moroku, I also fell in love with Moroku. And finally seeing that happen was almost like this victorious moment for me, I guess. I mean, that's so weird to say, but it's kind of how I felt. It was like just seeing that moment just was so perfect for me, and I loved it, and I loved what he said, and I cried during that scene, and I love it so much. It's so good. It's so good and so heartwarming. It's my favorite romantic moment in all of anime. Next one is going to be a spoiler for the final act of Inuyasha, so if you haven't seen that, again, Yeah, it's kind of an obvious thing, so I'm not sure if it's really technically like a massive spoiler, but it probably is. So I'm gonna call it a spoiler anyway, even though it's probably more like a minor spoiler. So if you haven't seen it, then mute now. Naraku's death, not poignant, not really poignant, but the fact that Naraku is my second favorite character in all of Inuyasha, very hard to watch. The poignant moment was where he actually became Onigumo for a very short time again, and was able to say why he was doing all these things, and he did it all for Kikyo. He wanted to be with Kikyo, and that's all he wanted out of life, and he never got that. He ended up killing her, you know? And I love that scene. I'm not really gonna say too much about it, because it's the only thing is that he's just my second favorite character, and it was just very sad to see him go, but at least they gave him a good death. It wasn't, you know, some massive battle that just ended with him blowing up. You know, it was meaningful and humanistic. Very well done. As for the Tuesday, we still don't have a Tuesday. I'm closing auditions on Friday, and we will make our decision Saturday, and I'm not sure how Dylan wants to handle it. Dylan will talk about that later. If you want to go ahead and announce it on Sunday, or if you want to do a collaboration mission video on Sunday, just let me know. I will see you then, and we will have a Tuesday next week. So Nick, we will see you on Wednesday.